first off then, could you please give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and your security background, and also to who IRONSCALES are?
Sure. I'm coming from a product management background in cybersecurity for almost 15 years. And I joined IRONSCALES about a year ago. I actually blogged about it. I love the connection between the human and machine, the self-learning platform, AI ML, plus seeing a business email compromise as one of the major risks for enterprises today. And I also love the team in IRONSCALES. So, these are the two reasons I joined the company. And been driving the product team, actually recruited the whole team and built some product lines. Recently, we did some repricing and repackaging, added a lot of new product capabilities, and built a strong roadmap for the company.
Brilliant, thank you. So who are the main customers that you see in coming to IRONSCALES, and what are some of the challenges that you're helping them solve today?
Our main customers are any business, small to large. Unfortunately, all of them are subject to attacks, business email compromise, vendor account compromise, a lot of financial fraud, identity theft. There's a lot of different attacks out there that even small businesses are subject to, and they all need the level of defense that we provide, whether it's directly from us or through managed service providers that work with the small medium businesses, and it's also the level of automation that they're looking at for automatically classifying these incidents, being able to save a lot of work from for the data and for the SOC analyst team, helping them navigate through the incidents that are being opened by the platform. Most of these incidents will be automatically classified and resolved by the machine. And also, how do you actually protect the users wherever they are? So we're expanded the platform beyond just email to messaging platforms. And also, how do you educate users? How do you make sure that users are aware of the risks and they're trained? So whenever a new risk is coming in, they're able to understand that this is not actually a legitimate message, email, and what should I do if it comes in, and how do I keep my email hygiene or security best, and generic security training for employees, also how to protect their account, how to protect their password, and so on and so forth.
Brilliant, thank you. So it's a pretty comprehensive plan. We've worked with you guys quite a lot across our website. We like how comprehensive the platform is during that threat detection, but also the analysis and the education all in one. It's really nice. A lot of companies are increasingly using other sort of methods of communication, like instant messaging or video conferencing, but we're still seeing email as being one of the primary attack vectors for a lot of businesses today. Why is it that email is still such a common target for cyber attacks?
First of all, I think that it takes time for even bad actors to move to new platforms, although they acknowledge that some of the instant messaging, SMS, voice messages, and now Teams and Slack and collaboration platforms like Zoom, they're starting to be targets for attacks, but it takes time to shift gears and create a new breed of attacks on these platforms. But we're starting to see them, and I think that email is still I would say the business communication and between businesses, the number one vehicle. So still internally, we see people use Teams and Slack and Google for internal messaging, and definitely if you look at the numbers, with 80% more messages are being sent over these platforms than emails. And just looking at our own Teams collaboration platform, we're sending probably tens of thousands of messages a day, while there's only hundreds being sent on email. But the ones that are more important for the business, the way we collaborate with our accounting firm, some of the vendors that we work with, etc. It's still email. And some of the things like digital signing and transferring documents is still pretty much happening on email, and that's the reason that this is still the #1 attack vector.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely still that main communication method for all of those external contacts. How does the IRONSCALES platform combine technical and human protection to help prevent those email threats?
Yeah, that's kind of like our one of our strongest offering, and part of our vision is that we say that we help organizations become safer together. And when we're saying together, it's first of all, it's together between cross organization, because we take data from any decision that the SOC analyst somewhere in the world is taking by classifying an incoming email. And we feed the machine and retrain the machine, so it will influence all the other customers. But we also look at the human factor as important for decision making. So while the machine is constantly improving and it's like more than 90% tuned to take autonomous decisions and to automate a lot of the classification efforts, there's still the human factor that complements those 90%. And even if it's going to be 99%, there's always going to be the 1% that requires the human factor. And the human factor is, first of all, end users who are aware of the risk, who know what to do when there's an email that has some kind of a business email compromised language or some malicious intent in the email. They have a way to report that to the organization using the platform, and that kind of like ignites an automated test on the email, running our scanners and feeding the community again. So users also influence, end users influence the way the platform makes decisions on emails. And it's also the SOC analysts, as I mentioned before, that as a community of SOC analysts that they are exposed to the decisions other SOC analysts made, and the machine also takes that into consideration, takes the human factor of more experienced and knowledgeable persons who know how to look at incoming attacks and classify them. It also kind of feeds the machine and makes it better. So there's always the human plus machine factor out there, and that's kind of also what differentiates us, looking at other solutions and other vendors.
Absolutely, absolutely. And IRONSCALES is pretty established now as an email security vendor. But what plans do you have to expand the platform to further support your customers? Will you be offering support for other communication and collaboration platforms, for example, like Slack or Teams?
So we've recently launched protection for Microsoft Teams. As a lot of our customers are Microsoft shops, use Office 365. Most of them also use Microsoft Teams to collaborate internally, and most of them also externally. And we've seen some attacks, mostly malicious URLs and malicious attachments being sent even internally. Usually what would happen is, besides the attacks from the external world, you chat, you collaborate with other vendors. Every interview you do on Teams is, you open a chat with an external person. Every call you have with another vendor, it's an external chat that is being opened and you can exchange information. But what we actually see is that whenever there's an internal threat or an account that has been compromised, usually there will be a lateral movement. And one of the ways to try to hijack more accounts or to send sensitive information out is actually not by using email, because you may be tracked, is by trying to log in to Teams or Slack using the same account and sending or trying to lure other users to be hijacked using these platforms. Slack is also something that we started working on, and we see a lot of enterprises using Slack as well. And Slack also has an app ecosystem. Teams also have it, but Slack is more advanced in that regard. And every application you install on your Slack Also requires some permissions and operates as a bot, so they may ask for write permissions or discovery permissions to understand who your users are. And if somebody hacks into one of these apps and starts getting permissions to access some of your accounts and write on their behalf or read their messages, just wonder what types of social engineering they can do when they have access to this type of data. So we look at the future. We see the proliferation of attacks on these platforms. Although email is still the #1 threat vector, we believe that in the next 2 to 5 years, this is going to be an imminent threat that organizations will need to start defending and start understanding the risks out there. And that's why we position the solution to be ahead of time and to be able to protect these organizations against these new type of threats.